Travis strikes again. Man, that guy has a lot of highs and lows. He went from our most anticipated game of 2018 to not releasing in 2018 to becoming a game that was a mashup of smaller mini games and not No More Heroes 3 at all, to finally releasing in January for $30, to being a title that we weren't excited for at all anymore, to now, where we've played the game, we've had some time to think about it, and we're ready to kind of issue our take. Gabe, Travis strikes again. What comes to mind now after playing it when you hear that title?
Okay, the game is clearly not what fans of No More Heroes wanted, but it's also not as egregiously bad as we originally thought it was going to be. I had my expectations almost to the ground. Zach, I thought that I was going to have a miserable time while playing this, and that did not turn out to be the case. And I know, people feel a type of way when we change our opinions sometimes, but the game is, dare I say, fun at times. And I had no idea that I was going to have such a good time playing. I haven't finished the game. This isn't a review of any kind, but we are going to talk about our experiences with it. I've played way more than Zach. I finished more than half the game. I finished 4 of the 6 mini games. I am a good chunk of the way through, more than halfway. And I am just surprised that I do not think of it as a chore to go play more Travis Strikes again. And I'm actually doing it on my own free will, Zach.
What is life if not changes? And, this one might be, honestly, in my video game history, which now is about 25 years, this might be the game that had the highest high and the lowest low, and then ends up just smack dab in the most middle ground you could possibly think of. Because I don't think Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes is a bad game. I also don't think it's really that recommendable. I think, for me, the price point still is a bit high for what's there. But I will agree with you that it's shockingly kind of fun. It's not anywhere near as fleshed out as No More Heroes 1 or 2. And it does make me wish that it was those games instead. But the combat is moderately satisfying. The boss battles are cool and engaging. The movement and just the pacing of the experience is enjoyable. And you're right, I did look forward to seeing what new enemies are they going to bring now? What new skills am I going to get next? What's the next crazy boss going to be like? I do have to say that I think the entire story and presentation and all of that, it's just not for me. I don't enjoy that at all. I am mashing my way through a lot of the dialogue because there is a ton of it, and some that really chops up the experience, and you're required to go through these almost codec-like sections in order to get to the next level. I don't like that choice, but while I'm actually Travis running around and slicing and dicing with the beam katana, it brings me back to No More Heroes, and I can't help but say I kind of like it.
A couple of things I want to touch on from what you said. For me, I think the price is totally fair, honestly. It feels like a 3DS game at times, and this game could have never ran on 3DS. But, I told this to Zach, but, we said, hey, we kind of want, smaller experiences from franchises we love on Switch. They don't have to be this big $60 production. And that's what this game is, honestly. It's very budget, and the game is very self-aware. And that's one of my favorite things about the game, how self-aware it is. You speak about those very long codec portions. The first one is egregiously long, but then the second one is super short. It's tiny in comparison to the first one, and it makes fun of it. It says, hey, isn't that way better? The game tells you hey, we know that first one was really long, that's why we're making this one super short. So things like that. Also, the game alludes to budget problems in development. They say hey, we really wanted to put a big action set piece here, but we didn't have the budget for it. That's stuff that the game says to you. And for me and my personality, I appreciate that kind of stuff. It is a little tongue-in-cheek, and I dig the whole vibe of it in general. The story doesn't mean a whole lot to me like you, but I do like those self-aware times and the moments that they have. Zach, I found myself really looking forward to, especially because I played a little bit more than you, so I've played more of the levels. After each level, the next one is going to be pretty different in structure. You have the second level, which you change the perspective of the map in order to continue down the path to get to the mansion in order to, continue. It's basically one big puzzle. The third one, you are in this mansion where you have to find coffee and donuts over and over and over again for a victim of a murder, and you're trying to solve it. And then there's a cool little story twist. I really found that one was cool too. For me, the most boring part of the game was the beginning. I didn't think it had the strongest opening. It introduced you to the combat and everything, and it's fine, but it's very simplistic combat. I don't know that I needed the opening to be that long. But ever since then, every level has brought something unique and at the very least different. It might not always work, it might not always be good, but it's different than the last, and I can like really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's important to note that this is a pretty small experience. Even with the variations, it isn't going to take you that long to tackle. But I do like the combat enough that the variations, which are slight to medium, I guess I would say, because you're still doing the same actions and you're still tackling and defeating the same foes. I feel like the game's at its best in the boss battles and the bigger enemies. When you have a chance to really put together sort of your own combos, mixing and matching the skills, as well as the light and heavy strikes, recharging the beam katana, that all feels fast-paced, frenetic, and fun. When it's just fodder, I'm not as big of a fan. When you're just holding the Y button to sort of like auto-waggle your beam katana and just take out whatever's in your path, not the biggest fan of that. But I like that they did incorporate some light RPG elements with the skill switching, with the leveling up, with that progression. One of the big features of the game co-op is something that we haven't really had a chance to try out, but honestly, I don't know that would make the game any better. In fact, I think it might make it worse, so I'm not sad that I haven't. To me, the issue here with Travis Strikes Again is that it was positioned as an unknown, and then it was positioned as we hope this works so we can make a big one. If it had more of a organic start and more of a direct messaging, maybe this would have been received a little bit differently.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm going to echo what you said about the boss fights. For me, that's when the game is at its most fun. Sometimes the levels are a little bit of a slog, and I don't feel great about them. But once I get to those boss fights, those are really cool. They have some difficulty to them because the rest of the game is very, very easy. You're never going to really die. The boss fights do introduce some difficulty, and I enjoy those because even those have all been super, super different. I want to say, looking in the bestsellers list on eShop, it's 29. That does not bode well for the game.
No, it really doesn't. And I thought that the top-down nature, or the sort of like high perspective camera, would be really, really a disservice. And again, it's nowhere near as good as the original No More Heroes, but it's not that bad. I'd say that this is a better time than a lot of games that we see on Switch that employ this perspective and seem throwaway. This isn't throwaway, but it's also $30. And so I feel like you're going to need to enjoy the self-awareness that Gabe mentioned, enjoy the overall edgy vibe that Suda brings to the franchise and to this title in order to feel like you really got the most out of it. Because if you brush over everything, if you skip over the t-shirts and you skip over the Kodak story type moments and you skip over some of the little nods that they place throughout kind of the little hub world, then it really is just a hack and slash with a couple cool boss fights, and there are cheaper experiences of that sort on the Switch. 29th, not a good look, because to me, my big takeaway after playing this was, I really hope No More Heroes 3 comes to Switch. I really hope that they're able to make that happen, and I don't know that it will. It's clear that the budget just was not there this time around. It's clear that they needed to work within their means. I think they did an okay job of that. It is not as high as we initially thought. It is not as low as we worried. It's very much the definition of just good enough to keep us playing, but not something that ranks amongst our favorite Switch games.
Yeah, I mean, they're adding stuff already. New Game Plus mode was just introduced today, and there is more DLC coming, especially, if you bought the season pass thing, you can buy the bundle for that. But yeah, I recommend just get the base game, see how you like that first. It's unfortunate that it's 29th. It does make me worried, for if we even get another No More Heroes ever, because I would have expected it to at least be in the top 10, right? It's a new No More Heroes related game.
I would suggest they drop that price quick. I think at 20 this becomes a lot more recommendable, and I don't know how possible it would have been or what it would have entailed, but I kind of wish they would have just taken No More Heroes 2 and ported that to Switch. You already have the game made. it probably would have honestly done better. Most of the comments we see and most of the feedback we see is like, I just want the original 2 on the system. Don't want to have to buy something new that's not really... But it is cool, like you said, Gabe, that they're taking a franchise and delivering a side experience. Just the way in which this specifically occurred, the context with which Travis Strikes Again came to be and now releases, it just is a little bit of an awkward scenario as opposed to like, hey, we just wanted to dive further into this franchise. Because then I think we might be saying, wow, this is really cool. It's not great, but it's really cool that they gave us a different perspective. In its current existence, though, in the universe and the world that we live in, I do worry.
Just the very last thing I want to say here, Zach. I find this very interesting, and maybe this is something I can explore and talk about on a later video. Onimusha Warlords also came out last week. $20. That's 17. Even that sold better. A remake of an old game that, like, I don't even know people loved as much as Travis Strikes Again. I know Onimusha is very, very popular, but then we have things like Octopath Traveler that is a full price game, still selling better than Travis Strikes Again. So, man, maybe...
So it was a whirlwind of not good looks for this game. After that first trailer, there was so much buzz, and I think then maybe they didn't even intend for it to be that way. Maybe they didn't know it was going to create this kind of a little controversy of like, wait, we wanted No More Heroes 3. If I were them, I would have absolutely led with this is going to be a side project within the franchise, and we hope to, be able to bring No More Heroes 3 in the future, and maybe that would have tempered expectations and prevented a lot of this. I did want to ask one more thing about the game. Have you played it handheld?
Yeah, a lot. So much.
Okay, because to me, it's way better docked, and the tiny levels and the tiny characters and the tiny enemies are a lot harder to just see and kind of enjoy in handheld, especially since the screen is cropped and you are getting that limited perspective. I feel like it's a lot better docked.
Yeah, that second level in particular, the one I'm telling you about with I mean, you've played it already, but the change of perspective, you were really super tiny. The camera is way up. You can barely see anything in handheld. So play that one.
Is this a Game Boy Micro or is this a Nintendo Switch? What's going on here?
Yeah.
The actual like aspect ratio that does not bother me. You kind of just forget about it after the first few minutes. That's not really where my complaint lies. It's more like this is a small little thing and it feels a little weird handheld. I wish it would have been a little more zoomed in, because this is a game that is probably a great fit handheld, as you mentioned, Gabe, kind of given like a 3DS vibe or something. So I don't know. I think there's good things here that I hope are carried over, and I hope we see more examples of, like, hey, smaller game in a franchise. There's bad things in terms of how it was presented, the just overabundance of dialogue and it's not spoken that's in the game. But in general, Travis Strikes Again, it strikes us as A-okay. And
do you regret it?
I do not. I do not regret it. I'm glad that I got to experience it, one, because just to find out finally what the heck went down with this game, and I do think it's fun enough that I don't regret it. Do I wish that I paid less? Absolutely. Would I feel a little bummed if it does drop to, say, $19.99 or $14.99, that maybe I got the short end of the stick? Absolutely. But it's good enough that I don't regret. I wish it was cheaper. I wish there was more there. But I'm gonna keep playing, and you're gonna finish it. And
I'm 100% finishing it.
Yeah, there's good enough aspects here that Travis Strikes Again is it is the most A-okay sort of outcome that could have happened here. It really is A-okay, and I hope most of all that Suda51 and the studio can find an A-okay way to bring No More Heroes 3, because it did make me miss the quote real No More Heroes, and I would love to see that return once more. Travis Strikes Again, but hopefully he can what's the Star Wars, the Travis Awakens, Suda Awakens for No More Heroes 3. I'd love to see that happen. Let us know your take in the comments down below. If you've played Travis Strikes Again, how you feel about it? Is it something that you regret, or are you happy you got it and finding enough fun there? If you haven't played it, are you gonna? And if you're not, let us know why in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest and greatest from the Switch and its lineup. 2019 cruising right along. It's been a strong start to the year, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So hit the notification bell if you want to be up to date with us. For myself and Gabe, a fantastic day, everybody. Thanks again for watching. SwitchForce out.